Hello, and welcome back to Movie Recap Factory. Today we'll give you a recap of an action crime movie from 2013 titled Homefront. Without further ado, let's get started. Oh, and spoilers ahead. The movie starts, and we see a biker gang entering a bar. They right away make their way into what seems to be a secret lab. Dalton is on the phone with someone, and after hanging up, he tells the others that the plane is ready to go. Danny, on the other hand, orders everyone to start packing. He is the gang leader. It turns out that this is a methamphetamine laboratory, and Danny runs it. As they get ready for the plane, the DEA goes on to shut out the power at the laboratory, and the next thing we see is a shootout. Dalton goes on to fight the gang, and Danny sees the situation and realizes that he is done. Danny then gets into a car with his son, and Dalton goes on to follow them. Dalton is on his bike, and as he speeds on, his bike gets drifted and he falls off, but he goes on to shoot a few rounds as that happens. Danny's car also gets blocked by the traffic, and this is his cue. He goes on to drag Danny out of the car right away, and Danny's son points a gun at him. Dalton warns the boy, but he does not drop the weapon, and he gets shot in the knee by Dalton. The police get there, and they drag away Danny, while Danny promises to finish off Dalton and his whole family. 2 years have gone by, and one day, when Dalton's daughter is at her school play, a fat bully teases her by taking off her hat. She nicely asks him to return her hat, but he goes on to push her to the ground, and well, she punches the boy on the nose, and he goes down. Later that day, the parents are there, and when Dalton goes to pick up his daughter, the boy's mom says that it is the girl's fault, and she goes on to lash out at Dalton. The teacher at the school, however, tells them that Maddy is a good girl, and she hasn't done anything wrong. The boy's parents are frustrated, and his mother, named Cassie, tells her husband to do something. He further goes on to insult Dalton, but Dalton does not say anything. When he is walking to his car, the boy's father tries to attack him from behind, but Dalton goes on to tackle him to the ground, and the whole family is further humiliated in front of everybody. On the way back, Cassie is annoyed at her husband for getting beaten up like that, but he tells her that he just lost his balance. It turns out that Cassie's brother, Gator, is a drug dealer, and he also has a gang. She goes to him that night, asking him to hook her up. She tells him to teach a lesson to Dalton. Maddy's teacher, on the other hand, tells Dalton to be careful out there, as the people here do not let the things go that easy. He then goes to the boy's father and apologizes for what his daughter did. When Dalton is at the gas station, Gator sends 2 men who try to bully Dalton. Dalton tells them to go away, or else they're going to regret whatever they're planning to do. They keep getting on his nerves, and when they get no response, they decide to get physical, and one of them goes on to grab Dalton's hand. Dalton beats the shit out of them with unstoppable kicks and punches. Dalton then goes on to ask whose men are they, but does not get an answer. That evening, the 2 men go back to Gator, who is ashamed of them. Gator then decides to take the matter into his own hands, and the next day, while Dalton is out horse riding with his daughter, Gator breaks into his house, steals his daughter's toy, and then makes his way to the basement, where he gets to know that Dalton is actually an ex-DEA agent. He then goes on to steal their cat as well. That night, his daughter keeps asking him to bring back his cat, and he goes out only to find the head of his daughter's toy rabbit. Gator, on the other hand, goes on to read the man's profile and learns about the gangs he has finished off. He then calls Cheryl and tells her to see him. Later, Dalton goes to Cassie's house and meets her husband, Jimmy. He confronts him about what happened last night, but Jimmy is confused and tells him he doesn't know what Dalton is talking about. Cheryl and Gator, on the other hand, give Dalton up to another gang as a gesture of goodwill to enhance their relationship. Dalton brings his daughter a new stuffed toy, and they decide that they are going to invite her whole class to her birthday party to let things calm down between Cassie's son and his daughter. Gator and Cheryl give Dalton's profile to Danny's lawyer, and Danny still wants his revenge on Dalton, as he thinks that he is the one responsible for his son's death. Maddy, on the other hand, goes to the bully boy and invites him, and the boy's mother is a little confused too, but they end up accepting the invitation. A boy named Tito comes to Dalton, and as they are working together, the boy brings up Maddy's confrontation with the bully, and Dalton tells him not to worry about it, as the chapter has already been closed. Tito, however, is skeptical because he is aware that people in this town also hold a grudge, and it just doesn't make sense to him. Tito tells Dalton that the man who broke into his house was not Jimmy, because Jimmy is not the sort of person to do that. Tito says that it could be his wife's brother named Gator. He tells him that he has a gang and he cooks meth too. Dalton is then told to be careful about this name. Maddy's birthday arrives, and Jimmy's son also comes to the party. It goes well between the kids, and Cassie comes to pick up the boy. It seems like things are getting back to normal between them. Cheryl, on the other hand, meets a man named Cyrus from the other gang, and they go on to discuss how they're going to move forward working together. She then goes on to tell him about their distribution plan, but he doesn't give a proper answer, instead keeps asking about Dalton's whereabouts. On the other hand, Gator learns that his nephew went to the party at Dalton's house, and he is upset with his sister. He comes to see her and tells her to stay away from that man. She asks him if he has the dope for her, but he tells her no, and she gets pissed off. When Gator is making his way out of the house, Jimmy stops him and tells him not to give the woman another patch, because she is already not stable. Dalton, on the other hand, receives a call from a current DEA agent who goes on to fill him on Gator. He goes on to tell him the man's whole story. He also gets to know about Cheryl, who is connected to the biker gang as well. He tells him that she has been hanging out with them on a regular basis now. So this means that Dalton now knows that Gator could be in league with the gang of Danny, and he very well knows that Danny wants him. Dalton then goes to Gator's place to confront him. Gator pretends like he doesn't know what Dalton is talking about, and Dalton leaves after telling him to stay away from him. Dalton then looks around and goes on to find Gator's lab in the basement of what is supposed to be a boathouse. He finds a big stock of meth and even the cat that was stolen from them. Suddenly, a man puts the gun on his head from behind, but he still manages to take care of him. After that, another one shows up and takes a cheap shot, knocking Dalton out. When he wakes up, he finds the two guys from the gas station whom he beat up very badly the other day. They have him tied up to a chair and are ready to level the scores by torturing him. They beat him up very badly, give him electric shocks, drown him, and even go on to threaten his little daughter. Dalton finally loses it, and when one of the guys gets too close, he headbutts him and kicks the other one away. After that, he somehow manages to free himself and goes on to beat the shit out of all the goons in there. After finishing them off, he picks up the cat and gets out of there. Before he and Maddy can leave the town, the gang members arrive. Though Dalton ambushes and kills most of the gang members, Tito is critically injured while helping Dalton and Maddy escape. Meanwhile, Gator's girlfriend, Cheryl, forces Maddy to leave with her. Maddy uses her cell phone to call Dalton, and from her descriptions, Dalton realizes that she has been taken to Gator's meth lab. Cassie arrives at Gator's warehouse after hearing news of the gunfight and discovers Maddy there before accidentally setting off Dalton's booby trap. Disgusted by her brother, Cassie attempts to flee with Maddy, leading to a struggle in which Gator accidentally shoots Cassie. Gator then flees with Maddy in his truck. When Dalton crashes his car, Gator prepares to shoot him but is distracted by Maddy, whom he then attempts to force back into his truck. Taking advantage of the distraction, Dalton frees himself and savagely beats Gator before reuniting with Maddy. Gator and Cheryl are arrested, while Tito and Cassie are taken to the hospital. Dalton later visits Danny in prison, letting him know that he will be around when Danny is eventually released. So that was all from the movie. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and do subscribe to our channel to view more of our amazing movie recaps, and hit that bell icon to receive instant notifications from our side. See you all next time.